Welcome to week 18 of exposure. And I am tired. I don't particularly want to be doing this now, but I do want to do this now. And I want to do this now because I am in a pretty bad state. And I think the value in doing this is at least in part for me and for my very small, but I would say somewhat dedicated audience. It means a lot to me, the people who have reached out to me telling me that this means a lot to them. For me and for whoever watches this, I think perhaps there's the most value when I am struggling the most intensely. And I've been struggling very, very intensely. And so a part of me was like, I'm exhausted. Let me just do this tomorrow. But I didn't want to do that because I think I'll feel better tomorrow. In fact, I'm pretty sure I'll feel better tomorrow because I know my patterns. And my patterns are these states of intense hopelessness, of just complete desperation and despair, never really last more than a day. But this is actually part of the problem. I think if these states were more sustained, I would have more motivation to change. Because what I'm seeing, and I'm not seeing this for the first time, which is sort of my point, is I like my cage. When the OCD was really, really, really bad, there was a huge motivation to change because I was in so much pain. And also, change for me, and I think this is probably universal, involves pain. Suffering is the motivation for change, and change is to some degree uncomfortable. Even if the discomfort is relatively short-lived, there is a period of discomfort in changing something. And so, when you're suffering a lot, one, you have a motivation to change. Two, you're already in pain. So it's not necessarily the thought of suffering is, well, you're already suffering. Yeah, you're going to suffer a little bit worse in the short term, but in the long term, hopefully you get less pain. But where I'm at now, where my suffering relative to where it was a decade ago, relative to where it was even 5 years ago, even a year ago, is significantly less. I have less motivation to change. And so it feels like I'm sort of in this cycle where I'm doing pretty well. Let me talk about it specifically where is that the x-axis or the y-axis? Fuck axes. Just in the domain of OCD. And for OCD, just for people who haven't seen this before, for me, it's really an addiction to optimization, to getting things right. So it manifests with decision making, primarily. So, I'll be puttering along at a level where I'm not aware of OCD most days. And I say I'm not aware because when it's bad and I get out of it, then I'm like, oh, actually I have low-level OCD, low-level obsessing about optimizing a lot of the time. But I don't really look at it as OCD because it doesn't cause overt suffering. So most of the time I'm in a state where I don't perceive myself as having much OCD or as having much general suffering. But then it gets bad and I reach a point of intense suffering, and then usually I surrender and I get more freedom. And I'm struggling right now. I'm not even paying attention to what I'm saying. But I've learned something interesting, which is very often when I'm doing these, I feel disconnected, I feel disassociated, but then I watch them and I'm like, I wouldn't know if I wasn't in my head. And of course, that's the idea. The reason this is called exposure is this is an exposure for my perfectionism by doing this imperfectly. So, so really what this is I'm trying to share freely the same way I'd share freely if I was talking with a friend, but I'm inhibited by the fact that this is something that is going to be, it's going to be put out there, which is insane because so few people watch this. And again, it's also kind of crazy because when I actually watch it, it doesn't seem stilted. It doesn't seem, but yeah, I'm aware of, the perfectionism right now. The part of me telling me I'm not doing this well. Anyway, so the cycle is intense suffering. The aftermath of that for me is always heightened freedom because I have an incentive. And so let me be specific. this is how I get free. In fact, I know part of why I'm suffering now is I know exactly what I need to do to get freedom from the OCD and to improve my life. And those two things are intertwined, and sort of the Venn diagram area would be called perfectionism. So, because the sources of suffering are this OCD, this addiction to optimization, and the fact that my career is not where I want it to be. And specifically, I think the reason it's not where I want it to be isn't because I've been unlucky, because I'm just don't do the shit I need to do. I don't do the shit I need to do. I don't do podcasts. I don't put out videos. And perfectionism is the main reason for that. So this is, if I was a therapist and Adam Strauss came in, I could tell him exactly what to do to dramatically improve his life. And this is what I would tell Adam. With the OCD, it's very, very simple. So my fear is fear of not doing things perfectly, of not optimizing things. And often it's about experiences. So where it flares up regularly is like I'll be obsessing, oh, what day should I go for my hike? What day is going to have the best weather? That sort of thing. Also often where it sinks its teeth into me is, should I smoke OCD? Is that going to be an optimization? So trying to optimize things. And it can also come up around travel decisions. So with the OCD, it's very simple. Make a decision quickly, stick with it no matter what. And then, so that alone would transform my life. But then for bonus points, lean into the discomfort. When your mind says, oh, I'm making a mistake, I should have gone hiking on this day, don't try to console myself, because that's what I'll do, is I'll be like, yeah, but if you went on this day, there would have been this drawback. No, lean into it. Yeah, you did make a mistake. And don't just lean into it with your thoughts, really try to evoke the feeling, because that's really what fuels the OCD for me, is this feeling of intense wrongness. Just, like a loss feeling, basically. Because in a sense, my OCD it's sort of like FOMO on steroids. So really leaning into that, oh, I'm missing out on this perfect experience. And what would it feel like if I was hiking on this other day with this perfect sunshine? So lean into that is the way to freedom. And then for career stuff, just put shit out there. Because let me be clear, there's no shortage of content that I'm creating. I record a lot of videos. I just don't put them out there. I love the creation stage, but that final part of actually putting it out there, I do it rarely. I believe that if I posted a short video or something short on social media every day, that would transform my career. And not necessarily because I would get a huge following, but simply it would loosen the strictures of this perfectionism that insinuate themselves into every area of my life. But also, I think I would get more of a following, because I've seen enough friends get pretty big just by posting consistently. And I've been saying this for years, but I don't do it. I mean, even this video. So this is supposedly week 18, but that's bullshit. This is not week 18. It's been about 30 weeks, I think, since I set out this project that I was going to do a video, an imperfect video, every week, no matter what. But I've missed weeks. It's very, very hard for me to put stuff out there because of the perfectionism and also because of the lack of accountability. And this is why live performance can be a huge salvation for me. Because if I have a show tomorrow night, well, I'm going to go on stage. But I always meet my commitments when there's external accountability. If I have a show tomorrow night, I'm going to go on stage, no matter how prepared I feel, no matter whether, even if I think what I'm saying is imperfect. And in fact, on stage, it's always a little bit imperfect, and that's part of the beauty. But when it's stuff like, no one is saying, hey, Adam, when's your next video coming out? So there's no external accountability, and therefore that lets the perfectionism run amok. So yeah, this would be my prescription for my life. Make decisions quickly, stick with them no matter what. For bonus points, lean into the discomfort. But even if you don't lean in, if you just make them quickly and stick with them no matter what, I will get more freedom from this, and just put out stuff regularly for the career. And I know this, and yet I don't do it. And this is the problem. I'm in a fairly comfortable cage. I'm fairly comfortable most of the time. And choosing these things will increase my discomfort in the short term in the service of, I think, making my life much better. But in the short term, time is a mental construct. It's always now. So to get more freedom from the OCD, to improve my career, I have to choose to suffer a little bit more in the only time that actually exists, which is the now. And I evidently am not willing to do that. And I'm afraid that, yeah, my cage is comfortable, but this is the thing, is the cage doesn't stay the same size with OCD. And maybe this is true of all humans. The cage is always getting smaller or bigger. So if I'm kind of trying to, play footsie with it, if I'm flirting with it, if I'm accommodating it, appeasing it, it's going to get smaller and smaller. And then at a certain point, it'll become intolerable. And then I will do what I need to do to get more freedom, and it'll open up a little bit more. And then I'll be comfortable, and then I'll, start appeasing it again. And then it seems like this is the cycle I'm caught in. And certainly my baseline level of suffering is much, much less than it has been in the past. But at times it's still intense. And today it was very, very intense. And yeah, to be totally frank, so my throat is sore because I was bellowing, screaming, fuck, at the top of my lungs today. That is how much pain I was in. And even as I'm doing it, I'm like, dude, don't do this. Your throat is going to hurt. It's going to be hard to talk and perform. But in the moment, I just needed that release. And this is the big question of my existence, is what is the core of this? Why is there this intense distress that pops up? But let me give you the specific circumstances, because a part of me doesn't want to get into the specific circumstances because it's humbling. But again, I think that's where the value in this whole thing lies. So I was planning on visiting my parents. I'm in San Francisco. I was planning on visiting my parents, the two-family house, my parents, sister, brother-in-law, and 2 nephews and 1 niece live in a two-family house in the Boston area. I was planning on visiting them in late February. And a week ago, it's a Monday, so 8 days ago on a Sunday, you don't need the exact details. Anyway, I was on my phone and I typed into Google NY. I was typing a certain website, but Google popped up NYC weather with the preview of the weather. And the preview was a perfect golden circle every day for the next whatever it showed, 5 days. Perfect sunshine for 5 days. And I could have stopped there. This is sort of like the alcoholic who, he's in the bar. I could have stopped there. But what I did next is then I Googled Boston weather, knowing it would probably be similar. And sure enough, the weather there looked perfect. Cool, but I love winter. I love winter. I love the seasons in the Northeast. I also love the consistently nice weather out here in San Francisco, but I really love the seasons. My favorite thing about winter is snow. Snow is my favorite weather. Of all other possibilities, snow is my favorite. I wouldn't want snow 365 days a year, but yeah, I love snow. And one of the things that's made me feel less bad about missing Northeast weather is there's been very little snow in recent years. Anyway, looked at Boston weather, perfect sunshine for it turned out like the next 10 days. And I was like, oh, maybe I should go to Boston now instead of waiting till the end of the month. And in the past this would have taken over for days, but it couldn't take over for days because if I was going to go to Boston, I had to go basically in 2 days based on scheduling commitments I have out here in San Francisco. So, and it was 3 or 4 hours that the OCD really crescendoed on a Monday. If I was going to fly out, I was going to fly out on a Tuesday, and it was very unpleasant. And I had this very specific physical signature that I have with OCD, this tension on the left side of my jaw, this tightness in my head, this feeling that my brain is literally, not metaphorically, but literally overheating, heat pouring off of my head. Very, very unpleasant, getting more and more trapped. And I reached out to my support system, which largely comprises people in this 12-step obsessive compulsive anonymous program. An extraordinarily helpful resource. And I got some support. And I made my decision, and my decision was, no, I'm not going to go out tomorrow. I'm going to do what I was originally planning on doing and go out at the end of the month. And it felt very, very uncomfortable for that night. And it was a challenging night with my partner, Anna, because this is the challenge of our relationship. I'm seeing it now. 100% of the strife isn't even the right word. 100%, I would say, of the pain in our relationship, really 100% of it is me. And 100% of that is OCD. and adjacent, the addiction to optimization. It's all the same thing. This perfectionism. That is what causes pain in this relationship. And so it was a difficult night. Anna showed up very well, setting limits. She doesn't want to hear me talking about what I'm obsessing about, but trying to be there for me. And the next day was better, as I think tomorrow will be better. So, and I didn't really, and coming out of that suffering, I had more freedom and I had more willingness and more insight not insight because I knew this already, which is, hey, if you want more freedom, lean into it. So the next day when the thought popped up of, oh, I wish I had gone to my parents today, my impulse is to try to soften the blow, to think about, well, no, it's not such a loss, but instead lean into it. Yeah, you should have gone. It would be beautiful there. And you get to see the kids and your dad who's having health issues and your mom and everyone. And, there's no real reason you have to be an SF now. And leaning into it and feeling a lot of freedom. And Wednesday, I felt even more freedom. And Thursday was a tough day. Thursday, it was a beautiful day. And whenever it's a beautiful day, if I don't have obligations, part of my mind is like, I should go hiking. But I was like, no, I'm not going to go hiking. I'm not going to go hiking. I'm going to do work today and lean into the idea that, oh, you're missing this perfect day hiking. And I did. And it was painful, but I felt more freedom. That's how you get freedom. Go right at the thing the OCD wants to scare you with. So I was doing it. And then Friday, I fell back. It was another beautiful day, and I fell back into, should I go hiking? Should I not go hiking? And I obsessed for about an hour, and then I went hiking, and I didn't really enjoy it, but it was okay. Then yesterday, Sunday, I went hiking with my partner, Anna, and I started obsessing, should I or should I not smoke weed? Because, again, to get more freedom, I want to challenge the OCD. So smoking weed is an optimization. It may or may not actually optimize my experience, but in my mind, it's an optimization. It'll make the experience more pleasurable in some way. So therefore, if my highest priority is more freedom from OCD, then I shouldn't do the optimization. I should allow myself to sit with the reality or the perception that, oh, things could be better, but I'm choosing to not make them better just to get more recovery, just to kind of, push back against the OCD. And I wasn't willing to do it. I wound up smoking weed. It's like if I were to envision the scales of this decision, and it's not, well, I use this decision as sort of an exemplar. On one hand is my relationship, because this will, I can't say will, it does. It exerts a toll on my relationship. I was going to say it will destroy it. I don't know if it'll destroy it, but certainly exerts a toll on my relationship. And it is the biggest threat. And I would say the only real threat to my relationship, Anna, and my partnership. So on one hand is this partnership I value tremendously with this woman who, is just perfect. I love her tremendously, without reservation. So there's that relationship. And again, there's also the career stuff. They're related, because I feel like if I get more freedom from the OCD and perfectionism, I'll put out more stuff. So on one hand are the two of the things I value most: my career, in creating and sharing with the world, and my relationship. On the other hand is, let me optimize this hike, which is already beautiful. It's a beautiful day. We're in the mountains, but let me optimize it a little bit more by smoking weed. And yeah, this was the one that rose to the top. And that's the one that almost always rises to the top. And tomorrow, it's supposed to be the only nice day for the next, 10 days until I do go to my parents. And I'll probably smoke weed again tomorrow. And there's no direct cost of smoking weed, but again, I'm missing a prime opportunity to challenge the OCD. What the message I'm sending myself, my OCD brain, is, hey, it's more important to optimize things than it is to get freedom from this thing that can take the things that you most value. But I forgave myself yesterday. And then today, I woke up early. I wanted to upload a video I'm working on this new show that is, I can tell you guys first, it's it's going to be called Something is Wrong with Adam Strauss, and it starts on March 9th at the Marsh Theater in San Francisco. And so I'm working on it. My director, he calls himself a producer, but in my mind, he's a director, Carl Ford, brilliant, brilliant human being. He's in New York, so I had to upload a video by 10 a.m. and the internet was not. It was like it was the upload speed was like 0.001 megs. It was insanely slow, which has never happened before. And I had to get it up by 10. If I didn't get it uploaded by 10, then I was gonna have to meet with him later in the day, which was gonna mess up other plans. And I couldn't do it, and I lost it. That was the screaming fuck. And I wound up driving to Anna's place to use her internet to upload it, but it was slow there. And the reality was the outcome of this was not catastrophic. It messed up my schedule, but it wasn't not in a massive way, but I just kind of had a meltdown. I was just so disconsolate about this whole thing. And I think it wasn't just about that. I don't know what it was about. And then trying to console myself, kind of doom scrolling, I was looking at the New York Times and I saw a story. There's a fucking blizzard or a major snowstorm hitting Boston, a foot of snow tomorrow. And that just set me off. Yeah, the thought that I'm missing that. The kids would be off school. We do snowball fights with the kids. My mom does them too. My sister, mom, and the kids do snowball fights. And it's the most magical experience in the world. It's probably my favorite thing in the world. And I'm missing out on it. And even that, I know, is not a huge deal. Again, missing out on a snowball fight versus career, creativity, relationship. And I know if I want to get more freedom from this agonizing, so it was the regret stage today, this agonizing regret over the missing out that I should have gone. And knowing it's not a big deal, but just feeling so dire, so wretched. And my partner, Anna, she saw me earlier and I was so upset. I punched my computer when it wasn't uploading, which for her, I cannot display. And I don't just do this around people. I do this alone sometimes, get really angry and hit shit. I never do it around people, but I do it around her, and she's the person I can least afford to do it around because she was physically abused as a child, which is not unusual in Greece. And I guess I should say not by her parents, by her grandfather primarily. And so it's very scary when I get angry like that around her. Plus, it's just unpleasant for anyone. And at some level, I think I do it around her for the same reason I would, as a little kid, I'd get furious around my mom. I think it's sort of a cry for help. It's like showing I'm so distressed in the hope that, I've said this on stage, I'll use this line, mommy or whatever woman whose breasts I'm currently sucking on is going to make things better. So that is where I'm at. I know what I want in my life and it's all within grasp. I have the relationship I want. I believe I could have the career I want. I know what I need to do. I mean, know is arrogant. You can never know. But I'm highly, highly confident that I know what I need to do to get more freedom from the OCD. I'm a little less confident that, I know what I need to do to have the career I want, but I know I'd feel better about it. Even if I just started posting regularly, even if my career didn't change, I know I would feel better because it's the feeling of part of the pain is I'm not trying. If I try, if I put in my best effort or at least something resembling a reasonably solid effort and I don't reach the level I want with my career, I think I'll still feel a lot better than where I'm at. So I know what I need to do to get what I want. And yet, I'm probably going to go hiking and smoke weed tomorrow. I want to end this on some sort of positive note. I had this thought, I might have even said this a few minutes ago, but the cage. How big do I want my cage to be? That's the question. How big do I want my cage to be? And what melts the bars of the cage is suffering. And a certain type of suffering. The suffering of choosing to, choosing to really push up against those bars, knowing it's going to be painful. But that pain doesn't last. That's what I found is every time I stand up to the OCD, the pain intensifies and then it dissipates. And yet, I'm not willing. And my fear is that what it may require for me to be willing is to lose this relationship. Okay, week, not 18 again, but yeah, okay. I'll see you hopefully next week. It would be good if I committed to, I mean, I have committed. It would be good if I followed through. We shall see.